right at me.
Yep.
Sucker short.
There he was.
See my line moving?
Oh, flash.
Yeah, he's all right.
That's a catfish. No, that's a bass.
It's a catfish. Nice try. Ooh, 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 ooh.
Good job, Lance.
All right.
That, yeah. Nice.
2.6. Good start.
Hello and welcome to Bass Fishing 202. I'm your host, Lance Perticone. When the bass move to offshore ledges after the spawn, I catch a lot of them on a Carolina rig. My go-to bait when I'm searching or when the bite is really tough is the Strike King Supa Fry. Because this little 4-inch bait is open-pored, it has a flat side, and that gives it just a little more glide action than a round worm.
Oh, I just had a bite too. Son of a gun. Nice.
Look where the bait is, all the way up by the hook, or all the way up by the sinker. I mean. Stay, 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 stay.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful fish.
3.76. Acrobat.
Here's the way I like to set up my Carolina rig. For the main line, I use 50-pound braid. It has zero stretch, and that gives you better hook sets on the long casts that you usually make with this rig. And it also has the power to rip a sinker free from a snag. My go-to sinker, if I'm fishing water 7 feet or deeper, is typically a 1-ounce lead bullet-shaped sinker. Now, I prefer the bullet shape over the egg shape because really I get less snags with the bullet shape. Now, I did go through a phase where I used 1-ounce tungsten sinker for my Carolina rig. And for sure, you have a better feel of the bottom composition with tungsten. But honestly, every time I would break one off of that size, it was like losing a piece of jewelry, and I just couldn't stand it. So I've gone back to using lead most of the time. Next comes the bead, mainly to protect your knot on the swivel. Now, I like to use a glass bead because it gives me a little more sound. I've seen some people who use 2 beads for even more sound. I don't normally do that myself, though. But then comes the barrel swivel. There's really nothing special about that. And then you tie on the leader line. Now, I prefer to use mono versus fluorocarbon because mono floats and it will leave the bait hanging in the water off the bottom just a little bit longer than fluorocarbon will. Now, the rule of thumb is the clearer the water, the longer the leader you need. Most of the time I'm fishing water that's 2 to 2.5 feet visibility, so I usually prefer a 2 to 3 foot leader. In water that's ridiculously clear, like 10 to 20 feet visibility, I'll use as long a leader as I can possibly manage. That's like 5 or 6 feet. And by the way, I usually don't even use a Carolina rig if the water visibility is, say, 16 inches or less. Because of the lower visibility water and the presence of lots of stumps and laydowns and standing timber here in East Texas, I usually prefer to use a 20-pound leader. I've broken off too many giants using just a 17-pound test leader. 20-pound usually gets them out of that cover. Now, in clear water, such as in the mountain lakes of Arkansas that I sometimes fish, or somewhere where I know timber isn't going to be a problem, I'll downsize my leader to 15 or 12 or even 10-pound test. Now, with this Supa Fry, I like to use a 3/0 Trocar round bend hook. he swallowed it. I should have set the hook right. No, he didn't. Yeah, perfect. Now the rod I use is a 7-foot heavy action rod. I personally can't seem to manage a larger rod than that for Carolina rigging. 7-foot works for me, but heavy action is important because you're normally trying to set the hook from quite a distance. Now my Carolina rig reels are normally about 6.3 to 1 gear ratio. Your retrieve is very, very slow. You know, normally just moving it a foot at a time or something like that. So a fast retrieve reel isn't all that important to me. Yeah, you'd be able to get it in quicker between casts, but the 6.3 to 1 ratio works quite well for me. What is really important though is that you have a wide and flat spool so that you can make a really long cast and not run out of line. If I can get them in. I'm not sure about the hook set. Oh, there goes my bait, but that's all right. Ooh.
Snatch in there, that was pretty good.
Now, as I said, Carolina rigging takes a lot of patience. A lot of times you're making an 80-foot cast and you're dragging that bait back a foot at a time with a pause in between each drag. It's almost like watching paint dry. Some people just can't stand it. But when the fish are in a neutral or negative mood, sometimes it's just the best thing for catching these fish. Hey, thanks for spending a little time with me in Bass Fishing 202, just a little more advanced than Bass Fishing 101. Thank you for subscribing, be well, and I'll see you all next time.